Welcome to the Elder Meeting for the 2015 end of March, April, March, end of March, as a dog barks. Hey, thanks. And so we have just a dog that just doesn't want to stop barking. Way to kick this one off. This is where this one's going, I guess. All right. You know, you plan for these things, you try, and gosh be darn it. Anyway, so thank you all for coming. We got a large audience of elders this evening, and we hope to answer a lot of questions, show some of the progression that we've done, and a lot of things that have happened in the last few days. Yes, he's very loud. If you want to type something too, you can type it in there. It royally screws me up when I'm talking about something, because I will like interrupt myself with that conversation. I haven't learned how to do typing and talking. And Mitri and Ronan and a few others I know are coming in a little bit later because they do have to work. We're going to try to do, again, we try to do elder meetings once a month, preferably at the end of the month. We're doing it on a Saturday night, which is, I think, one of the first times we've ever done it on a Saturday night. But we got a larger attendance, so it seems to be working pretty good there. If you haven't noticed, we've seen quite a jump in a few different colonies and a bunch of different things happening with the registration of people on the scrolls. People have been registering very well. They haven't been giving inappropriate names, so it seems that system is working. The colony areas in the community section have been growing. We've been adding them as the elders and the chiefs are able to comprehend what's happening in the community section. And we'll go over a little bit that we'll go over more about that later on. And in games, we're seeing some exploits happening. And really, because we have a lot of new gamers coming in, they're asking a lot of good questions. Some of us as elders are like, what? And sometimes as elders, we got to kind of think and take a step back and look at it from a new gamer's perspective when we're so close to this project. Especially for someone like our core team, we can't get mad at some of this stuff because they're just honestly trying to figure out how to play this game. And from a lot of other role play games, tabletop, video game, whatever, you try to find every way you can to scratch and claw your way above everybody else. So while a lot of us are looking at this as blatantly they're trying to cheat, if you look at a lot of how other games are played, it teaches people to look for those things. So while it is a bad thing, because some of these things are like way out there, it is allowing us to really fine tune the rule book and allow us to, as elders, look at what things that could have been looked at as a gray area that we may not have seen as a gray area, to finalize it and make it more of a black area where it's in black text or red text in some cases. So it's been a very good, we've had, like I said, we got a lot of new players. So I appreciate all the elders who have been taking the time to write on people's profiles, the new profiles. I've been watching. A lot of you are looking at the new profiles and welcoming them. That just means loads to new people. You can't get anything cooler than a personal thank you or, hey, welcome to LARPcraft. So if you see a new person in if you go to LARPers and the newest members, it'll have a little box. You can click in there and see who's posted on what. And a lot of the elders are doing a good job of welcoming people right on their personal profiles. And that takes a lot of time. So continue to do it, and a lot of you are answering questions. A lot of players are answering questions in the Myths and Legends, just the question and answer section for each of the chapters. And most of them are answering it correctly. So that tells me that, and some of them are pretty seasoned players though. So Ronan, if you want to mute your microphone as you get set up here.
I'm trying to find it.
Oh, lower left-hand corner.
No, I'm trying to find the actual microphone. I think it fell down.
Wonderful.
There's only 12 feet of cable. Oh, over there. I'm standing up and can't get to the computer. Okay.
There we are. The first objective we want to bring up, and again, if anybody has anything to say, just raise your hand or do that thing that Raylick figured out, the put your hands up button, or Murdoch can just put his feet up or raise the roof like you just don't care. And, you know, just whatever, break in, that's fine. The playtesting of new skills and things that we're talking about, we've got some really honed in ideas now. There's not a lot of crazy ideas being presented in the rule system change area. So it's been working. I'm really relieved to see that it's not super crazy stuff. As elders, you guys are really thinking about how to take some silly stuff out, put in some things that really make a lot more sense, to modify some of the things, you know, Gray Core and others, you know, still coming up with punctuation and spacing issues, and, you know, just sending them over, and we're just correcting them as we have time. And I'm still putting in the charts and subcategorizing each of those listings. I think I'm up to professions now, but doing the last comb of that and getting that figured out is really, it's coming along. What I would like to do in the elders, I want more pictures. We want more pictures of our LARPers instead of taking photo stock from somewhere else that we have to pay for. It'd be really great if we could do like a photo competition, because there are some photographers out there in some of our colonies that can take really good pictures. The one Carlos has, you know, his LARPers that are listed in there because he's like, hey, we paid for a photo shoot and you guys are free to use them. So, and the photographer was all awesome about, he's like, hey, you know, because it's free publicity for him as well. International site that uses his stuff. And they look really nice. So we have kind of like a base from a LARPer standpoint of photography that we could aspire to also do. If it's a high enough resolution and the lighting is okay, we can also take that, throw it in the Photoshop and fine tune it. So that way we can make it look like those pictures that are very well done. So I guess my question is to you guys and gals is, would it be okay to do some kind of competition for XP or coin or mats that would just be like, if you guys came up with a really awesome, or I mean, it may just be props. I mean, you'll be in the next rule book. You could be on the back cover. You know, that's cool. So if we could do some photo shoots as colonies to look at what's in the Myths and Legends system, look at what pictures aren't there, because there's a lot that isn't represented with a proper picture. That would be really great to, you know, take some of those pictures and do that. You know, like I could call up Blitz and be like, Blitz, get in your gear and we're going to do some witch doctor pictures. We're just going to take pictures. That's all we're going to do. Not get sidetracked and just hammer some of those out with some specific scenes. It will really help players get an idea of what we want to see. So the more players we have, the more costumes we get, the more we progress, the better pictures we can get. So should we do it as a competition, or should we just like be in the know with our colonies and let the colonies try to come up with something, or have that, or Trips?
I'd say no on the competition, because if you remember the World event, like 2 years ago, we had the final, like the the tournament battle royale thing, and we got some really good pictures. But in all of those pictures, there was a ring of people with their phones out taking pictures as the picture was being taken, and it it's something really cool that's happening. So it makes sense from, if you know what's going on, why everyone has their phone out. But for an outside observer to be like, oh, this is a LARPcraft event and everyone's talking on their cell phones right now. So maybe just elders kind of stress it, get a designated photographer, one or two, so you don't have photographers taking pictures of each other rather than everyone trying to pull out their phone and snap a cool picture.
Right. To do it not at a game, but more or less, like I said, doing like a specific event for a colony that's like colony photo shoot. Be there in your garb for this day. That would probably work better, because a lot of our colonies also need pictures for their Facebooks, for their community pages, for their event registration stuff that's on the LARP store now. You need good pictures, and you want to see pictures of the people that are going to be at the events. So,
I think, sorry,
no, go ahead.
I can't find the cameras, so I'm just going to have to break in when I can. Another way you could set that up, Trips, is say we're shooting this way, okay, have a specific direction to which people are taking pictures and things, so the other photographers don't get behind the people that are actually having their photos taken.
I've always wanted to do like a photo booth, kind of like an area where, hey, if you want a really cool photo, a picture for your profile, we're going to do a photo shoot before the registration meeting at 9 a.m. or at high noon in the battlegrounds, or something where you could do it for 15, 20 minutes, take them a little bit out of the game or something, handle that, do that, and then come back in or something. But Trips is right. Some of those pictures turned out horribly because you saw the trailer, you saw the pictures with people taking pictures. So those were some issues. Go ahead, Book.
One thing that you could do to combat that is you could have it as a competition on the site and just say, if there's anything modern in the picture, don't submit that picture. Then you can not have to worry about that being in the picture. I think if it's something that's known on the site but not necessarily promoted at a specific event, then you'll have less of that 20 people trying to get the same shot.
Yeah, I know with some of the other game organizations too, they have the dedicated photographers. I mean, we have 6 orange tabards for media, specifically for media that we can use as well. But yeah, good idea. Bjorn, Hamish?
One of the things that our recent event that we went to, Gulf Wars, we had a couple of people using GoPro cameras, and there were people who had them out in the open, which was really obnoxious, and there were other people who had tried to hide them like in helmet crests or in props and stuff like that. So we still got the really cool action photos and video, but it wasn't out there in the open. And I think that maybe if we make part of the contest that, some way to hide the mundanity of getting that footage or getting the pictures might be a good way to help people along with that as well.
Yeah, we could probably, as elders and colonies, come up, and I'm guilty of that myself, just throwing on the camera. I usually forget till it's last minute. I'm like, oh, I should get some of this. I'm a video guy. I should have that definitely covered at least. We used to cover them with like cloth and stuff and burlap sack, and it's really easy to do, to cover it up at least. But
all you need is a stick.
Yeah.
Get a walking stick that's big enough for the camera to slide into the top of it and put something around it.
Right.
That way you don't actually have to be in battle. You can be behind it with the stick there, and it'll capture everything.
We should probably come up with some kind of template wording for media capture devices, portal boxes, that kind of stuff. How do we handle images and video being taken in the game? because in one respect, it's really awesome because it goes viral and we get more people at games. On the other hand, the people at games, if it's not properly hidden, it sucks because it breaks immersion. So if the players are in the know, I'm pretty sure they can come up with really creative ways. And it's not such a big deal in like Risen and some other stuff, but the medieval one is very specific to not having any of that shown. Serena?
Okay, a lot of things that I was gonna say have been said, but I do like the idea of having it as a competition because otherwise I kind of see it going nowhere if there's no incentive to put them in more and to do your best. But it doesn't always have to be, at events. Like you said, go, hey, Blitz, put your stuff on, come here, we're going to do a photo shoot. You can just photo shoot, not at an event, in your backyard if you got good tree line like you do. Stuff like that. You got any input?
That was pretty much it.
Okay.
Yeah, and like Keldor and I, we took a few seconds. I mean, we went for 10 minutes at Deep Light even, and we did it in one of the facade walls. We just framed it upright so you couldn't see any of the other stuff that wasn't, that wasn't painted, and did it. So, I mean, it can be done pretty much anywhere, and it'd be neat to have that flavor of all the different locations. And now that we have a realm in England, and the site he's looking at to do it at is at a real castle, frick, an A. He needs to get a picture.
I'm sorry.
I gotta send him a camera.
I fainted. I just got back up. What was that? I heard about a real castle, and then it all went black, and I just hit the ground.
Yeah, our colony in England, he's got one of the locations he has is it's like a camp that has all cabins and stuff, but on site is an old castle. So yeah, he pretty much trumped us in the 3 weeks he's been part of this, because he's in England and there's castles all over. So,
well, we can do some of this. We can, I guess, test bed it a little bit next Friday if we go to Gandalahar, because we can use that little village that they got, maybe. Sure.
And you can get real creative with a lot of this stuff. Like those locations that have like ruined walls and stuff, you don't have to show the whole thing. You just show that little piece, and it looks like you're in front of a castle anyway. I mean, you can get real creative with a lot of this stuff. But the point I'm trying to make is we need more pictures, and we want to use pictures of people who are actually in our game system, not things that we buy off the internet to use the rights to do them when we publish them. We can't just copy and paste stuff off the internet, because now we're actually publishing things. So there's copyright, and this isn't a Facebook page. It's real deal stuff. So we got a lot of different things to deal with. Where's his mustache strips? Does he have a mustache yet? No? Yes? Did you put one on him? No? Anyway. Book, go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't realize my hand was still up.
How do you even raise a hand? I don't even know how to do that. Just
click on participants down at the bottom.
Participants, okay.
Click on it. And a box will pop up. And when it says raise hand, there's a button there that says raise hand.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, click on participants, and then there's a button that says raise hand.
Okay. Sweet, now we all know how to do it, which is awesome. So we got that taken care of. We can kind of talk about it amongst our colonies to try to get some more pictures. That'd be great. Specific pictures, like look at the scrolls, look at the rule book, see what pictures we don't have. Put a list together of things that you think your players could possibly pull off, and try to organize it if you can, because there's going to be XP. And again, the B in the printed book, that's going to be pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. Okay, so let's move into Bjorn, we had the we had some confusion as to how we play test things, and it was a really great. You opened it up, very well. When we're talking about things that we're doing, as we have thousands of players and a very small elder team, we got to be careful as to what we say. And I've been guilty of this myself, of like, oh, we're talking about this. Players will take that as that's happening tomorrow, not we're talking about this for next year. So it's always and we've play tested things. Ronan can contest to this. We've play tested things at games, and the next game they want to do that again, or it's like now part of the game because they've done it. So we've learned the hard way of, play testing things in games, especially with new players, can be troublesome. But at the same token, I understand where you were coming from, where if you don't have a large enough set of people, or you don't have enough, if you're trying to do something like a game mechanic, like Hamish's favorite shock and awe, he loves that skill. He loves it. Like, he came up with this, and gosh, what a great skill, Hamish. It's just great. And but to demonstrate something like that, you need a large group of people to make it effective, because that's how that one was designed. Poorly, I might add, while in a drunken state. But nonetheless, a lot of these skills need to have a lot of people to do it. So you still have to do it out of practice, or you could actually put up a scenario game for some kind of play test once the play test has been approved by the elder team. And it's very important that it first passes a vote, that the rest of the elders are comfortable with it before we do play test that sort of thing. So does that kind of answer like how that works a little bit? It's still kind of getting deer in the headlight look. Okay.
No, mostly just trying to work my way through it, and because it all makes sense, what you're explaining. Just trying to figure out just trying to make it match the information that I have and the reference points that I have already in terms of other systems and play testing. So.
Okay. Go ahead, Book.
I think it would be really helpful if there was some place that we could go to find out all the things that are currently being play tested. That way, if somebody comes up to us and says, hey, I did this at somebody else's practice or whatever, then you can look at it and say, okay, I can look it up right here. All right, that's being play tested. That's a valid thing that we're doing right now. And I can at least know what's going on with that. So having one central place to look at where there is a list of what's currently being play tested would be really helpful.
Yeah, in the rule system change area, we've kind of switched it around now. Ufnar and I have switched around how those categories show up. So we're trying to fine tune it where, like, if something's being there's the play test area. Like, this is what we're screwing with to try and see if we can break it, and posting comments on it. That should be in the rule system changes. If it's not worded correctly, I will go back and reword it one more time.
I may have missed it.
Yeah, I didn't really talk about the fact that I don't think I didn't notify the elders that I changed the wording on how that system was, because there was a thread about how the system should be done, and it was so well written. I basically copied and pasted it, because one of the elders was like, this is a good start, but here's how you could do it better. I read it, and I'm like, done. That's awesome. So the rule system changes, I put those items in there so it was not based on date, but mainly it just went through the process. And we're still trying to figure out that process. What is the formalized process for that? For any new idea that we come up with or revision. So take a look at it. If you don't like what you see, make a scroll about it and we can talk about it. I'm not saying it's finished. I'm just saying I started it with out of thin air, and then you guys refined it, and I'm talking with my hands a lot.
I'll go look at it again. I think I just may
All
have missed that change in how it was structured.
My lighting is not correct. Oh, wait, I can be on my shoulder. Okay. Yeah, you got the most awesome finger puppet shadowing wall behind you out of all of us. Trips has taken us on a tour of his house. That's awesome. You ever seen that video I did of the control the player? I feel like I'm in that right now with Trips. Trips, I'm like talking to him. I'm controlling Trips right now. Trips, make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Anyway, control the player is still a good idea. I haven't lost touch with it. If you have, it takes a lot of bandwidth, as we found out, but it's seriously possibly something that we could do. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, I'm not going to explain it further because it doesn't matter right now, and a 45-minute explanation won't. It would just, whatever. I think he might be lost, but he has really nice cupboards. Those are good. He's straight.
Okay, back to reality. What's the next topic?
If some of you haven't noticed, we have made some major changes to the LARPcraft community. And now you can actually post pictures and comment on stuff. And the discussions got better. You can add and invite people to events without being an administrator. You can, I mean, there's a lot more flexibility now. We're really heading towards that community being the central location for what LARPcraft players are going to be at. We went from 68 players to almost 300 players in this last month on that community. We have a lot of, like Billy and the Tierndale folks put up all of their events on there, which was good and bad. We tested it to see if it would break it, but now it's not showing a lot of attendees on that, so it kind of hurts us and like, oh, look at all these events and nobody's attending them. That's not true. It's just in multiple areas. I want you to know as elders and chief elders that we're working very, very hard to create a new community. You have no idea how hard that is. You have to post relevant content very frequently to keep people's interest, because they go there, they look at it for 49 seconds now. It's up to 49 seconds before they bail. So it's getting better. But to give you an example, Myths and Legends, somebody who goes on Myths and Legends on the scrolls will sit there for 18 minutes. 18 minutes before they bail. So, but that's also because there's 5,000 freaking threads. So, and apparently they're staying, so the information is still readily available to them. But we're adding a lot of products to the store. You're seeing also the artisan stores, Serena and Austin, who's doing some jewelry stuff. I have a few people testing out the artisan stuff. I have Book. She has her colony store up now. And Waters has their colony store up. Avern has their colony store up. So we're going to be playing with some events, some pre-registrations through the store there. We're adding the Palatoki stuff. I got a Sweet Talk Murdoch over a glass of things that he doesn't drink, and see if he can get some of his shoes and stuff up there, help him sell some there, which mainly means he's going to make Serena do it anyway. So, but we want to have that community and store area. It's a very, very powerful tool that we're building for people who are making things and people who are selling things and the pre-registrations for events. And we've got it's not completely good yet, but that store is very, very vital to, it's a cog in this whole wheel, not wheel, you know.
I have a question about that.
Go ahead.
Now, let's say I don't have a store. I'm not making jewelry. I'm not making armor. I'm not making shoes. I have like my breastplate. I want to sell just my breastplate. How could I do that?
You could add it to the buy sell trade section, which has I think almost 40 members now, and some people are posting it in there. If you go to the buy sell trade section in the scrolls, when you click it, it automatically jumps to that section now in the community. So you can sell stuff that way.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. Let's say I got some old LARP gear that I'm not using that I'd like to sell. Maybe somebody else can do it. So that's the way you would do that.
Correct. That's the way you would do that.
Okay.
So
Thank
you
you.
either do it in the buy trade sell section, or when people start really making stuff, or let's say somebody's a proprietary seller of junky items, or like if there's somebody who can collect a lot of items from a lot of different LARPers and they have a lot of stuff to sell, they could probably do an artisan store that way instead of selling it in the buy sell trade section. We did have our first spammer, legitimate spammer in the LARPcraft community trying to sell Renaissance gear. What was it? Renaissance Outfitters or something. They were pushing their products and I'm like, yes, first chance of success means we've got spammers. So now we have to come up with some kind of way to manage people. There's a difference between artisans and players trying to trade, buy, sell, that kind of stuff, as opposed to a dealer who is either manufacturing or selling something that they get on a mass basis. So we're still trying to work out the details of how that works. And we did talk at length. I've been talking with some of the manufacturers, and what we want to have is dealers and folks that have like Calamassals and that kind of stuff, and Epic Armory and Palnatoke and blah, blah, blah. We want those to be on the LARP market as well, because those bring a ton of people in. We want the artisan products to be listed right alongside. So what Trips makes with his shields and his axes, I want that to be listed right next to the stuff that's manufactured. That way, the LARP market will have all those things. It's kind of like Etsy meets eBay almost, but within LARPcraft. So it's not to that point yet, but I think we're getting a lot of good feedback, and we're constantly breaking and fixing that store. The developers are sick of me, like plain out, straight on sick of me, and I know them all by name now. So they can't avoid me. But the LARP market is something this industry has never seen. To have many stores within a larger store is really hard to do from a software standpoint. And because the payments go directly to the people's PayPal addresses, LARPcraft doesn't take a cut. There's no commissions and no funny like bean counting business that we have to worry about. So it was originally designed so colonies can do pre-registrations without opening up their own store, because that's expensive, or you do it wrong and it looks dumb. So the LARP market was that's the primary goal. So they can do pre-registrations, get that money in their pockets so they can buy the food, do the advertising, pay the site fees, whatever the case, before the event. And if we can get the artisan stuff and the dealer stuff to work, great. If we can't, it's still working good for pre-registrations. So awesome. But with the community site, I can't tell you enough. Please try to post stuff in the community sections, in those groups, make discussions, take stuff out of the scrolls and be like, oh, somebody talked about this in the scrolls. Let's talk about it here in the community section. Book has her hand raised. She did. Does she now? No, she doesn't. Oh, it still just popped up. Never mind. Ronan can contest this too. When we went from YLARP to ProLARP to LARPcraft in the progressionary stage of the last 5 years, you try to make a community site. And like you said, the formula for success with this kind of community is posting after posting, responding, but with good content. It's not junk.
Activity.
A lot of activity. I would force Ronan to post stuff. Ronan would bitch to me to post stuff. We would continually try to get ourselves to keep posting things, because without those posts, it doesn't happen. You can have the best site in the world, won't matter. Nobody's there, doesn't matter. So
I remember just talking back and forth so we would have content.
it was literally Ronan and myself having full-on conversations in forums just to get people to, and finally people started to voice their opinions on it. You know, like, and like Hamish, you've done a lot of good stuff in the cooking, the food and drink area. You started posting some stuff, then you fell off. Who else? Tierndale, they did some stuff with the LARP clothing. The transfers were starting to happen, but there was a while there where it was hard to log in, and we had some delays and some errors, which we've now fixed. So there's a lot of folks, and I can contest to this. When you put up a Facebook event and you have 15 people signed up on Facebook and 30 people show, there's a lot of people who don't want to use Facebook. There's just a lot of people who don't want to use social media. So,
and that by itself with the Facebook, yeah, 15. What Artanen just said, you get so many more people showing up because they don't use Facebook, and then you don't know what to plan for in ways of people showing up, because not everybody is using the same media site to say that they're going to be at an event. So, I'm planning for 25 people to show up at this event. Suddenly there's 70 people. You're like, I didn't plan this much food for this many people.
Literally, we've had to send elders out with cash and like make food runs, because there was no way we could have supplied, or even drinks. We couldn't even supply enough water for that many people. 70 people at an event with 90-degree temps. You know how much water they go through, especially if you don't have water on site. Holy crap! That alone is a logistical nightmare.
Unless you're Bucky and just don't drink and pass out.
Yeah, we've had that issue too, and it was a serious concern. And thank goodness LZ was there. He's a paramedic, and he was like, he almost needed his kit. Bucky was in a beast costume and darn near did himself in. So
my thoughts exactly with the face palm.
Yeah, and we had water everywhere, but there was just and players get into that. They get into the heat of the moment, whether it's summer, winter, fall, whatever. They're in it, they're charged up, and all of a sudden they black out because, your body gives out eventually. So those are things we got to watch out for. Blitz, go ahead.
The whole thing that you guys go on about Facebook, it kind of depends on the colony as far as attendance and who comes and who shows. I mean, as far as what I've seen from all the Deep Light events we've hosted, the Facebook numbers are pretty close to what actually show up, and that's kind of how we judge. And we were able to pull a lot more players from other systems, like say the Last Hope system, by using Facebook. So we're able to bring in new players from other systems because they're more, it's Facebook. There's, how many billion people are on it. So, I don't know. I don't think we should try moving away entirely from Facebook, but we should still use it. We should use all the tools in our arsenal, I guess is what I'm trying to get at.
Absolutely. And my post wasn't to get away from Facebook at all. Facebook is going to be a necessary evil for everybody. It does bring a lot of players. It's been a major success tool for LARPcraft in most of the colonies. And when a colony joins, if they set me up as an admin, I do put money on their account right away to boost their numbers. And and targeting just the local area. And that works really, really well. So, and it also teaches them how to do advertising in their colony page. So, we talk about it as chief elders as well. If you haven't seen me do that, it's because I wasn't an admin on your page when we were doing that, and I can still do that. But Facebook is vital to the success because it is such a large social media network. But a lot of people, it's surprising how many people are turned away from it. And as we start to post stuff, I don't know if you've noticed that when you post something in the group or when you post something in one of the pages and you get it's a major deal and like 4 people see it or something, you know what I mean? Like they're enticing you to spend $5 to promote that or boost that. They're getting really good at it too. So like Blitz said, use all the tools in your arsenal. Go ahead, Book.
I was just going to say that Facebook for us seems to be the preferred medium for most of our players. I don't have anybody that won't get on Facebook. I actually am struggling to get my players onto the LARPcraft community because most of them have not joined. And I've offered, I don't know what, to try and get them on there, but they're really not interested. So I'm trying to figure out a way to get them on there. But for our colony, Facebook is the preferred medium of getting a hold of each other.
Yeah, it's okay to not really push the community full tilt right now because there's not a lot there. It's okay that players don't stick around there for a while, you know, for a long time. Us as elders, we can be posting content there. As the core team, we're posting content. I'm trying to post a lot of content all the time. It's going to take 8 to 20 months to really get it where it needs to be. And the thing that's going to push it is more or less the Risen. The Risen is going to be the home page for like all of the stuff that's in the scrolls, in the forums of the scrolls. When we duplicate that in the Risen, those are all going to be links to specific things within the community. Yeah, I know. It's okay. It's okay. But, and again, the end goal of the community is to have, okay, let's talk about making weapons. You go to the making weapons group within LARPcraft. You don't go to the making weapons section in Galactic, Western, LARP, or Scrolls, Genesis, Risen. It's not, if you have all of those sections, it's just impossible to, you have literally 5 different things of the same thing. So we're going to shoot those all to one area, one group that has those discussions about those genres instead. So everybody sees more of the topics. And if that doesn't work, well, I'm not saying it's you know, it still could not work. You know, LARPcraft is attempting things that other game organizations have not really attempted, and that's running multiple game sets. Most of your game organizations will only do one type of genre, and there's a very good reason for that. It's a pain in the butt, and it's really hard on a game system and a community. But we're going to try it. So we'll see if it works. LARPcraft could just be missing Legends at one time. You know, that's cool. But we get a lot more players with all those other genres. They offer a little different flavor. Maybe.
I mean, a lot of different flavors. We're like a Baskin Robbins of LARP.
Mm-hmm. Todd, chicken wings.
Do you want some
30 cents
sprinkles?
total flavors. Yeah.
We'll get some sprinkles on that.
That's right. But players want to LARP. They want to have fun. And that's another subject I want to bring up. I do apologize. I've been talking a lot of business, yada, yada, blah, blah, blah. And a lot of things that have brought people to the site was our enthusiasm in the videos, the foolishness, the fun that we portrayed in the scrolls, in the videos, in the, you know, you got to keep that energy within the LARP community itself and within your own community as your colonies. Giggling.
And I think that's another thing that we could definitely show in videos is, you know, the enthusiasm, enthusiasm for the game, but upbeat attitudes. Not all the time it's humdrum. Yes, da ba da ba da ba da. Put a little something into it. Put a little flavor into it. Put yourself into it. Try to make it fun.
Go ahead, Book.
Yeah, that's something that we actually got noticed for. We were out at the library, and we were in garb, and we were just having fun. Actually, I was chasing around minions. And the team coordinator comes up and says, "Hey, would you guys be interested in doing a presentation during the summer reading program?" I'm like, "Yes, we would love to do that." Just because we were hanging out in garb and having fun. And so now we get to do a presentation, which is going to be really interesting. They published all of their events for each quarter. And Springfield has a really active library, so we're really excited about it.
Yeah, and Grey Corps has done something similar like that, where he's done it at the library. He's in the parades in his community. He's out there every week, pounding pavement, doing events, or just practices, and people see it. People are watching. He's got flyers and stuff, so if they ask questions, he's got extra garb. So, hey, let's swing some foam, have some fun, and it's viral the way they're doing it. And a lot of you as your communities are doing it that way as well. And you show like Raylick and Hamish, and you show a lot of the heavy armors, and why is SCA popular? You show a lot of these things where you got your full harnesses, and this is the real deal, folks, and people are drawn to that. They are. So the organizations who do it that way are, better success, better chances of success. So there's a whole lot of stuff happening for those of you who are watching this live. There's a lot of giggling happening on the screens, and you don't see the actual group chat. The group chat is going back and forth about things. So I can also contest that book, where we're going to be doing a presentation in April. We're doing it for one of the Cub Scout groups. They saw us at Christmas at Cinema. We were promoting our LARP, and we had our own room, and they were so blown away. They were like, "Oh, let's show some of the youth and their families how to do this." And all right, we weren't really doing this for youth, but it seems like we get those types of people anyway.
Youth have parents, and parents have money.
Sometimes.
There's not a lot of historical accuracy, but we sure have fun.
Scouts make really great LARPers. They know how to camp. They know how to cook on a campfire. They know how to go out and do a lot of things outdoors. We actively recruit Scouts, probably because we're Scout leaders and our kids are in Scouts and we know a lot of people, but they make great LARPers. That's how I got Hildy and Amendin.
One of the things that I've noticed, I'm not saying anything negative, so please nobody take it like that, but when it comes to younger people, typically like under 18, maybe even under 20, they don't take role play. This is just me. There are exceptions out there. A lot of kids can do it. I'm just noticing that some of them, most of them that I've seen, they're out there and they can't wrap their heads around the role play aspect of it. A lot of them go out there and go, "Oh, we're out there to swing swords and we're going to hit people and yada yada yada. Oh, and did you see what SpongeBob did yesterday?" It's like, no, no, stop. Get into the aspect of the game, and we're not just out there to beat each other senseless with foam sticks.
There are some good exceptions to that, though. We have one player who's 13, and it's actually Hildy and Amen's daughter. But she's a fantastic LARPer, and she actually participates with new players, helping them not to break immersion. We have a player who comes to our practices every once in a while who really struggles with breaking immersion and really struggles with that, and she'll be the one to pull them back in and pull them back into what we're doing. So I think you can definitely get some young players. It's just a matter of training them correctly.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm just when it comes to youth and things like that, that's who I see breaking immersion the most. That's all I was saying.
Having practice sessions are key to those types of things. Like let's take like Blitz and Murdoch. They're hosting every Thursday. They're doing events. They're doing practices. They're bringing in people like crazy. Their colony is growing like mad. And they're consistent. They're consistent with their events. They know when people are people are just word of mouth. They know that's every Thursday. It's either SCA or LARPcraft events. That's what's happening. Be there on Thursdays or don't. But having a consistent type of event on a consistent basis is really key, and having it in a local area. Marcus and I have been talking too about, like the Inland Waters Colony is really big. We're going to do the settlement thing like Tierndale did and try to have events, because you can't expect somebody from one side of a colony to attend another side if it's over an hour away, or if it's 30 minutes away. Heck, if it's 20 minutes away, a lot of folks won't do it, but they want to play. So on a weekly basis, we could do some, LARPs in the park, that kind of thing. And like in our own area here, Ronan and some of our other folks, what we tried to do one of the years was we would host practices every week. We'd be in full kit, and we would go to different parks every time. And we would put our banner out and everything. And I'm surprised we never got a call, but we got people. I mean, we handed out so many more flyers. We handed out business cards. People saw the banner and went to the website and signed up because we were out there. We were doing stuff. They saw it. It was fun. People saw it. They saw we were having fun, and they wanted to be part of it.
Yeah, I think that's the key. Getting out there and letting people see what it is instead of just letting their imagination take it. Oh, because I saw a video on YouTube, and yeah, well, it's not totally the same as actually going out and experiencing it for yourself.
Right. And we're trying.
Yeah, I'm sorry. And it also depends upon what video they watch on YouTube. If they watch some, like, this is the greatest LARP ever, and it's a bunch of guys out there, in a park wearing trash can lids for armor and, their mom's bathrobe, obviously it's going to give people the wrong impression.
Right. And we try to combat that, working with the Wisconsin Historical Fencing Association, with the SCA folks like Hamish and Murdoch and Raylick, and trying to get people in real kits. Let's get them, people who know what the hell they're talking about, put them in front of the camera, let it roll, see what happens, and build that credential. Ronan and I have been BSing our way through a lot of this stuff, but we've learned a lot from folks like yourselves, and we've tried to incorporate that into the foolishness and fun that makes it that right video formula, that makes it the right, you kind of get addicted to it, and a lot of the LARPcraft videos that we're producing now, we've lost that. We haven't been producing that, and our numbers are showing that. The people are showing that. It doesn't have the same vibe.
So you're saying I'm out? I've been replaced?
Yes. No. What are you talking about?
I think you're right. Leaving the bloopers in at the end of the videos is a good idea, because it gives somebody to like, oh, this is really serious and this is cool, and then they get to the end, they're like, and then they have a chuckle. I think that's a good thing to have. But yeah, we need to get the people that actually, like you said, we've been kind of like ham-hawing our way through this. If we can get the people out there that actually knows somewhat what they're talking about, but we're still in it, I guess, that would be ideal.
And a lot of the elders have had really good ideas, and we want to hear more of those ideas. What videos do we need to see? What do players want to see? What can we provide as good examples? But what can we do it in? We have to do it in an entertaining way, whether it's us or you or colonies or LARPcraft or whatever. We have to do it in an entertaining way, because That's just the way it has to be. Go ahead.
Then you don't get to make videos anymore because you drone on and on and on.
I am. That's why Ronan's in front of the camera most of the time. Because A, he can't run a camera for poo, and B, I talk too much and bore everybody to death.
Hey, I can hit the button just fine.
Yes,
I don't know
you
what you're talking about. Lieutenant. Last month's meeting was totally not like 3 hours long.
And who was talking most of that time?
And everybody's like glazed over. Oh, why did I come to this thing?
Another 3-hour meeting?
Yeah.
Wow, you don't say.
Go ahead, Bjorna.
Naibo has been patiently raising his hand and would like to say something. I don't think he found the button yet.
Okay, there we go.
Go ahead, just hit it.
I was just wondering, would it be fine if we did like race videos, like what we did with the Magic? Because earlier this last event we had someone tackle saying pounce. So, yeah,
That's dangerous.
yeah, because they didn't read the rules all the way. Would that be fine if we did videos for that too?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We want to make actually videos for everything. It's just time constraints and being able to get together to do it at a time that, okay, well, we're not going to start at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and run all night to make videos. It's getting schedules linked up to where we both have days and stuff like that. That's why if other people could make videos, that would be where they could chime in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like Ufnar did that too. You know, he put some videos up with his cell phone. They weren't great, but he uploaded them to like Google Drive or Dropbox. He sent them to me. I edited them up the best I could, threw in a little bit of Flash, and put it up on the LARPcraft's main YouTube channel. And that was really great because it gives you more perspective of other LARPers, other colonies that are doing things. It provided very relevant information. It was a different flavor, and it got a point across.
So if we make the videos and send it to you, that's fine to do.
Sure, absolutely.
I want to tackle somebody at a LARP.
Me too.
Hey, how about we tackle each other?
I'm good for you trying to tackle me, Ronan.
It's Ronan and our tenant going to the hospital. Oh, their backs are injured. I wonder why.
Oh, no, it won't be like that. No, that's going to be, do you have your sash on? Why, yes, I do.
Go ahead, Book.
Hildy needs to do a cooking video. She's already volunteered.
Do it.
She may waylay someone with her frying pan. Yeah. For those of you who don't know, she actually has a foam frying pan. It's pretty awesome.
And those are the types of videos that people will just, you know, we put in the bottom, we put in what colony they're from or whatever, and you just see a lot of response from those types of things. People follow the LARPcraft channel and they follow us, I think, because of some of the goofy crap that we have done. Epic Armory put bloopers at the end of their videos because we did. Like literally, that's why they did it, because we got such a great response from it. So their bloopers weren't as good, but it was still pretty cool to see that a manufacturer was doing it. Oh, you're gonna redshirt it? I'll be the redshirt victim for the frying pan scene.
Wait, I'm the one that's usually cooking, so I'll take that responsibility in the blisters.
If you want to come down here and volunteer for that, we'll cook for you, but that would require you to drive down here.
Yeah, it's like
Get the keys, take my card. Go now.
12 hours, no, it's like 11 hours, I think it is.
Hildy's cooking is worth it.
I'm sending Ronan down now. I'll join him shortly.
That's a long way for cupcakes.
But she's making fresh sourdough from scratch. That should be ready by then.
Hey, I can cook. I didn't say a word about being a baker. I can't bake for crap.
I can bake.
of the two of us, I can bake.
But anyway, getting back to where we were eventually going with this.
Doing practices, playing the role play aspect of it at those practices, and getting people to stay in character at games are major proponents to a successful event and to progress them as characters. So,
I would like to add
guidance.
I would like to add something to that. People should some people can't differentiate themselves from their character. They play themselves as their character.
Bucky.
That's typical of the first character, especially with new LARPers. Yep.
But anyway, if we could have something to try to get, like, I don't want to say like a teaching or some kind of schooling or some way to get people, okay, we understand, okay, you're this in real life. This is your personality. Okay, well, my character is he's a brooding sociopath, murderous rogue. But in real life, you're like a jovial, happy person. You really need to try to get into your characters and portray your character in an event, not yourself in an event.
Go ahead, Book.
Couple of the things that we've done to work with that, because we do have a lot of players that are really new to LARP. One thing that we did is Mordecai wrote a really great article that's supposed to appear in the first magazine whenever that comes out. That is really fantastic for character development. So anybody who hasn't read that needs to read it. I'm not partial or anything. The other thing that we do is before practices, we actually run a sort of tutorial on different LARP scenarios, different things to build your character. And so before we actually do anything that is lore building, before we do anything that is fighting, before we do any of that, what we do is we sit and go, okay, this is the scenario, everybody act it out. Or, this is a skill that you need to do, everybody do it. The other day we were practicing how to do elemental spells. So we would toss a ball around and, say fire, and they had to practice summoning a fire spell, or, they'd toss it to somebody else. So having those sorts of practices where you help new players understand the rules and how to role play those things has been really crucial to assisting players in that development.
Yeah, absolutely. To not have combat practices only and to do role play and put a target out there. When you're doing your practices, let's role play how to die. You know how hard it is to die sometimes? And how people just, oh, I'm dead, weapon above their head. Okay, if it's muddy and you're in an intense situation, okay, all right. But how would you really do that?
We practiced getting waylaid.
Good.
And falling down.
Because there is a right way to fall down, especially if you're in a big, in a kit. There is a right way and definitely a wrong way. So
Hildy found the wrong way. She got waylaid on some stairs and really waylaid herself.
I rolled a nat 1 on the stairs, and so it was not good.
When you talk about right way and wrong way, it's called the painful way and the not so painful way.
True. But we also, since we have been practicing inside, doing more role play practicing, we have done some other events, with other colonies and at other groups, and it really solidified us as a colony or as a group to know the in-game jokes and the stories that are there, so we could have something to talk about in character. So there's a group of us that can we feel like we can go anywhere kind of together and be able to tell that story.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with that. Being able to talk about in character, talk about your own area, your own experiences, and things like that. That's where putting in your stories from your own perspective into the scrolls really helps.
Yeah, it's been really helpful to put things in the scrolls. It's also been really helpful that we've had a series of practices kind of starting in November, but every week we've had a practice that was canon. So we've had practices every week since November, and all of those were role play practices. We did almost no fighting at all over the winter. That's been really helpful to people building characters over the winter, especially.
And our tenant has fallen silent. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm just reading the scrolls as they're going through here.
The way our colony's been doing it is every time there's rain or there's a weather hazard going out, because we've been getting a lot of ice down here, is that we'll go and I'll run us through the quest line that I've written out and stuff through a D&D campaign, so they can help them build up their role play aspect for that. There's like several different ways us as elders can do it and stuff like that. So
That's something I'd like to see us do more of it in inland waters. Stuff like role playing it out, like D&D campaign style. Like we did that once, and it was awesome, except for the ever so wonderful background music we had that night, and that just kind of spoiled the whole thing.
We'll
But-
have a video of the thing that we do. We do an indoor LARP during the winter. We don't go outside because it's cold and we don't like to be cold. But we started out doing something akin to tabletop. We were doing the system that Ufnar had proposed on the scrolls for tabletop. And it kind of evolved into, it was just indoor LARPing. We almost never rolled dice. It was just, we do the same things as outside, except it's all inside. And because of that, there was very little combat. We had to figure out ways to resolve conflicts without violence, which is really hard for a lot of LARPers.
Go ahead, Trips.
All right, has everyone watched, it's called LARPs the Series. It's on YouTube. It's a pretty good watch, but they do a very interesting take on small group LARPing of they have a party of 5 people, and it's a DM walking with 4 people. And it's a pretty interesting take on it, and I think every elder should watch it just because I think that would be the optimal way to start up a small group, and doing the role play stuff like that, to just have the party walking through the woods and say, there's 15 bandits over there. What are we going to do about it?
I remember something like this, but it was at a place called the Vale, and this is a cave.
The LARPs the series, the cinematography is good, the editing is awesome. You can tell they have professional training in this. It's humorous, it's well written, and it is a good example of how you can take a small group and make it into something that is a very good quest, a very good adventure. Practicing the role play aspects are very crucial to not just doing swinging the sticks kind of combat. Or if they do swing the sticks, a lot of times also that things that we're not seeing, and it's very evident by the last few videos, when somebody takes a hit to the arm, oh, they lose the arm. Okay, it went limp, or they put it behind their back. They didn't cry like a baby. They didn't, they didn't role play the pain. They didn't let it affect them mentally. It was a hit. It was scored as a hit. That's all it was. So when you bring in all these other dramatics to it, it can really intensify the game. And at practices, those are things you can focus on. Because at a game, it's impossible. So, you should know it by the time the game hits. And to try to be like, oh, time out, ladies and gents, you need to role play that better. That's never going to happen. You just got to let it roll. But at a practice, you definitely could. We came up with, and I wanted to do LARP University. It was something I always wanted to do, where there's software that incorporates with the community that allows you to take sessions. And in these sessions, I will role play situations with Ronan, and they will answer how these things should be role played out. So it's taking the video aspect of things, the building block aspect of things, and seeing if they can pass the quizzes at the end or provide feedback.
Well, that's one of the things too. I would take that because I am not the greatest role player, but if I could get pointers and stuff like that, I would take it too.
Right. I think it would be a good building. It would be good building material. I wanted to do it for the LARPcraft University thing. I wanted to do it for players and for colonies, for elders. Let's run some scenarios, because there's a lot of different scenarios that as elders we're not really trained to deal with. Like, what happens when pot comes into a game? What happens when somebody's drunk and belligerent and is starting to fist punch people? How do we handle things quickly and in an effective manner without getting ourselves in trouble or hurting somebody else? That's from an elder extreme standpoint. From a player standpoint, there are keeping things out of game. How do you role play a scenario? We did some of the videos, if you recall, we did some samples of like that video with the first aid, when we role played first aid and Bucky couldn't role play the crap for nothing. And then we did it again at a higher immersion. Then we did it at super ridiculously funny drama, where I was just screaming my head off kind of stuff, to show the different levels of how you can role play and how it affects that scenario. And those are all things you can do in the games. Well, not the games, but in the practices. I mean, you could do it in the game too. But LARPcraft as a whole, we need to do more videos like that.
And what he means by LARPcraft as a whole is not just me and our tenant, but other people can make videos as well.
But what we did find is other people have a hard time doing videos. Videos are not easy. There's a lot of time to prep. There's costumes, there's prep work, there's what are you going to go through, what material are you going to go through, then there's editing, then there's sound, and by the time you get done with it, nobody wants to do it because it's a pain in the butt and it takes a lot of time. Unless you're mental, like me, and will sit behind an editor for 8 hours on a video that won't make sense. But it has gotten us somewhere. LARPcraft is somewhere because we did dedicate ourselves to those countless hours of all that editing work. So it hasn't been all for naught. And Ronan, it is going to be you and I for most of the stuff, and others who want to join us. We encourage the others. I want to see Trips in the videos. I want to see Blitz in the videos. There's a lot of good talent. Let's get Doug all mad and excited and get him charging at somebody. That'll scare the crap out of anybody. Hamish with his I was a chiropractor in another life, all of his snickery little comments that are just funny, and you got to put them in there because they're funny. He's a funny guy. Those are the types of things as a community we can expand upon, but not a lot of people have that video experience. And Lee or Ufnar, he's tried. And when you're in a game, it's hard because you're in a game. You don't want a video crap. You're in a game. So it's a catch-22.
Okay, I guess we'll make some more videos.
Dallin has an awesome headset. He has, oh my gosh, that thing's glowing around his head.
It's an aftershock.
Well, I'm shocked.
Yeah,
After the fact.
It's called an aftershock. I mean, the sides glow, the mic glows blue if you're when it's active, red if it's muted.
That's awesome.
What's your address again?
Yeah. Aftershocks. We all need aftershocks.
If you wake up in the morning and it's gone, don't look at my house because it totally won't be here.
Yeah, it was a present from my wife.
That's awesome. I'm not getting a lot of leg. We haven't had Trips do one mustache twirl this whole time.
One what?
Trips, would you do us the honors?
Oh.
A mustache twirl. Yeah.
Wait, I can't find. Oh, okay. Do it again. I missed it.
Oh. He's putting the big no on there.
I am not your mustache slut.
Oh, yes, you are. You know you love it. You love twirling the mustache for the group.
That was in my ear.
Sorry. We love you, Chauncey.
Let's go to the mats. We put mats in today. Had some, the vote was at 24-0, 24 for, 0 against. Everyone had already put in their thoughts. We had changed it a few times. It was good. So we're going to try it. I put it in as a beta test currently because it really didn't need to go through any other process. The tracking system can manage it. So anybody have any questions about how the mats thing is going to work?
Yeah, yeah, I have a question about that. Is it going to track specific mats? Because I do not like the idea of, oh, I have 20 mats. Oh, well, choose what you want. If it's going to track mats, it should track what they have. That's just my opinion.
I like the universal mats personally because that gives players more options depending on what colony they go to. Say you pick up like 20 leather mats at Esker, you go to Midland where they don't have a lot of leather, and then therefore you're not screwed for the entire event.
Right. Well, what I'm saying is, I'm sorry, our internet connection here is really jumping around, so it'll be clear and then everything will be jumbled. My thing about it is this. I heard you say something about if you go to I'm not sure where, but if you go to Esker and you get 15 leather, and then you go to Midland, where leather is very rare, you should still have 15 leather, but you should not be able to go from, like, say, the opposite of that. If you go to Midland and you get 20 herbalism mats, and you go to Esker where herbalism mats are plentiful, you should not be able to exchange that herbalism stuff that you have for blacksmithing mats. Because you don't have blacksmithing mats, you have herbalism mats.
Could it not be role played that you met a trader on the way to the event and traded your mats for something different?
That's what I'm trying to get at. Because events aren't, they're usually not one day right after another. You gotta travel. So you're gonna either like lose them or something, or trade them all for other stuff. You're not always gonna have the same stuff. And I'm assuming that what you end the game with is what you're gonna want in the beginning, because it's what you're gonna want to use. Because you would probably trade away your other stuff for stuff you're gonna want to use.
Wait, one thing.
Hold on. Everything is all jumbled up. One second.
Yeah. From a logistics standpoint of it, we wanted to go with just one mat because when the colonies have to adjust mats and coins, raise your hand if you've had to do colony vault stuff for 4 hours at least solid. Like where you had to adjust after a game, XP, silver, gold, copper. Anybody? Yes? I know Blitz is raising his hand. Nibel's raising his hand. Book? No? Yes? Not paying attention? Not really. It doesn't take that long.
Not for 4 hours. I can usually have mine done in about an hour.
But that's still for how many people?
Like that.
How many people was that hour worth? How many people?
That was probably 20 people. So we don't have huge events.
What if you had 100 people, though?
If I had 100 people, it would probably take me 3-4 hours.
And now times that by 5 more mats that you have to adjust. The real reason we went with mats was because it's a logistical nightmare for colonies to adjust after the game, to issue and adjust everybody's profile that was at that game. You know, Blitz had 88 people. He'll be there for half a day.
I understand you can't track each individual mat, but at the same time, I don't know, I guess I'm dense or I just can't wrap my head around it. If I pick up 5 herbalism mats, I shouldn't be able to go to another event and go, I have 5 mats. I'll take blacksmithing mats. Because I didn't go out and get 5 blacksmithing mats. I went out and got 5 herbalism mats.
Who's to say you didn't pick those up on the way? I mean, this is like medieval time period. It takes, days and weeks to travel from one venue to another venue.
Okay, well, what's to say I didn't pick up 500 more of them?
I mean, I'm just trying to, give options of how it could be role played.
We're trying to bridge the gap between what's possible and what's so hard to track. I understand what you're saying, Ronan. In a perfect world, we would be able to track each individual mat, but I don't think that colonies could handle it.
Like I said, I'm just...
No, from a role play aspect, I get it. You're right. If you had 15 herbalism, you should start with 15 herbalism again. But I don't have any other way to...
What you're saying is we're going to trust the players to try to take what they had at the end of at the last game with them to the new game.
I didn't even say that.
Well, no, we're kind of trusting the players with tracking mats. We're kind of trusting them to do that. If they collected blacksmithing mats, but they need herbalism mats, then that's one way they can get that, I guess. But it's a lot. We're placing a lot of trust with the players for this.
I think it adds a lot more to the game. If you're going into a colony without a lot of leather and you decide to use your mats for leather, it gives players an opportunity to make a little bit of extra gold here on the side by selling those.
I'm not arguing that point at all. I think it's a great idea to be able to track mats. My thing is, and Artenin pretty much said it, we can't track each individual mat. That's going to put way too much stress on the system and the people that do the stuff. My thing was, and I'm pretty sure you already know, but if you have one specific kind of mat, you should not be able to transfer it to another kind of mat because you originally did not get that mat.
I got first off, anytime you're dealing with mats and the professions in general, you're trusting the players that they're not cheating and being jerks about it, because I can set up shop and pretty much all day I can go, oh, I'm selling potions for whatever reason, and unless someone follows me and makes sure I'm turning in 5, 15 or whatever regents every single time, or mats, excuse me, that's all a trust-based system. And then, as everyone else said, if you want to role play it where you took 10 ore out of Deep Light and now you're going to Esker with 10 leather, that's along the road. You met someone you wanted to trade, and then even the guys up at Esker can nerf it a little bit. Where if you want to use leather mats, it's going to cost you 3 to check out one leather mat. It's going to cost you 3 mats, where maybe you only got one mat per piece of leather you turned in. So elders can, or game organizers can, balance it that way.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of room for cheating if players want to do it. But players have, in the last 5 years, governed themselves, and those who have cheated and got called on the red carpet don't come back. It's going to happen, and we trust the players to run the honor system, and we try to we need to make the punishment more severe. If you're caught cheating, I would go as far as to say your account's gone. We will delete your account. If a colony says this person's been caught cheating, and Lovecraft, delete this guy's account, I'm going to delete the account. If it's that severe. Would they do it? I don't know if they would go that far, but we need to let players know that cheating's a big deal. And because we trust them with so many things.
Yeah, we do trust the players, and 99.9% of all the players are honest, they're truthful, they take their hits, all that. It's all good. I'm not against tracking mats. I don't want anybody thinking that. Okay, I think it's a good idea. And if it's too much for the system to handle to track each individual mat, which it probably is, well, it definitely is. I should say that. That's fine. I'll go along with it. I just it was just to me it was the concept of being interchangeable with any other kind of mat that I was having a issue with.
I think we get it, man. And this is the first step. Maybe we can handle more mats. We don't know. But we have to take the first step, and we have to do it cautiously so we don't lose colonies. But I think it's going to be a dramatic increase in profession use right off the bat.
I agree.
Also, when it comes to profession use and stuff like that, what is everybody's idea on having more NPCs being able to do these things?
Hold on. Bjorna and Hamish had their hand up.
All right.
Actually, I wanted to go back to something that was touched on during this discussion, and I've been a little discouraged lately with the system in general. With some of the things that I addressed with some of them with you before I left for Gulf Wars, our tenant, and I think that the elders in general need to be on the same page about a lot more stuff about making like things like unofficial policies that have been going around for years a little bit more hard and fast so that everybody understands it. The one specific thing that I addressed with you, our tenant, was the new player gets to play with whatever they can bring for their first event, and people have taken that as, well, I can NPC for 5-6 times because that's not really my first event. So when I come as my character after 6 events, I can still play with, whatever I can bring, whatever armor, whatever weapon, that type of thing. Along the same lines, we're seeing things that, metagaming. We're seeing, people going into areas that are not set up for game and taking, materials or, gold, that type of thing. And I really find that disheartening. And I think that a lot of other players, if they were to see a lot of these things that the older teams discuss, would be disheartened by a lot of this stuff as well. And I really hope that in the future we move towards being on the same page as far as somebody breaks the rules, what do we do? Somebody bends the rules, what do we do? Somebody really metagames a lot, what do we do? Coming from the group that I come from, the SCA, we know what our disciplinary structure is. Hey, you're being a jerk on the field, go sit down for the day. If you're a real big jerk more than once, we're pulling your ability to fight in our society ever again. If you assault somebody, you're going to jail. So we have, systems in place for our group. It's a very different group though. And I think as we move forward, it's something we do kind of need to address.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly that we should have some kind of policy in place for disciplinary action. And we need to come up with that as a group. I can try to draft something, and then you guys can kind of pull it apart and see what needs to be added or subtracted. But you're right. We weren't big enough to know what we didn't know, what we had to figure out. And this isn't as full contact, but we do need to have some kind of policy in place. We do.
I think we are big enough now, though, that we're needing to have some sort of document that we can go to that says this is the appropriate action to take in this situation, so that as elders, if you make the same infraction in 2 different colonies, you're going to get the same response.
Absolutely. That's a key element to a worldwide organization running the same system.
I know it's not the same, but for the airsoft business that I used to own, right on top of our waiver, the next page they had to sign was our rules and regulations. They had to read it all, and there was a clause in there, if they failed to abide by our rules, they could get ejected without a refund. And I think that should be important, or at least included in the waiver, so that way if people sign off, they're saying that, yeah, I read the rules and I will follow them, and if not, I will face the consequences.
Sure, we could even put that in the smart waiver, and we could also put it in the video. Doing that Lovecraft University seems to be a vital importance right now to get that information out to people as well. On the Lovecraft.com site, Have you noticed that the menu systems are growing? There's the for the player area. I would like to have a categorized area for each part of that says, here's how you role play. Here's the rules. Here's what happens if you break the rules. Here's, and it's all just very easy to find. And then all the systems can link right to it. Go ahead.
Well, one of the most common ones that comes up on a regular basis because accidents happen, that type of thing, is people getting hit in the head. How do we deal with that? Every colony that I've been to has had a different unofficial policy about what to do with it, and the application of those rules for because I have gotten hit in the head in pretty much every game that I've been in. And one time is a mistake, 2 times, 3 times. When it's getting up to 4 and 5 times, it's getting to be a lot. Of course, you're not going to damage, all of this. I mean, as beautiful as it is. But
it is zombie pretty.
That's true.
Zombie pretty.
But having the same reaction across the board is I think a really important message to send to the players. I got hit in the head pretty much intentionally by a player, and I said, okay, normally in where I come from, you count that as a death. And the person's like, that makes no sense to me. When we're looking at these things, I think that the more that we go across the board having the same types of answers, the better off the organization is going to be in general.
Yeah. No disagreements on my end, anyway. We get hit a lot in the head. And the first step I took was putting eye protection and helms more predominantly in the rule book. There's a lot of red sections in the rule book that state that at practices and that sort of thing, whether, if you're in battle and you're swinging stuff around, you're going to get hit in the head. We don't want to condone it, but if you're doing it on purpose, that's a different thing. And if you're doing it on purpose, there should be disciplinary action immediately. If you're jamming people in the face, and we've had to eject people, I think, twice. Somebody got hot-headed, they started swinging out of anger, and it was over fast. But can the elders respond to that? And are they trained, or do you have any practice doing that?
I think we should implement kind of hidden referee type things. Take a couple players that we trust, kind of give them the authority to report back to the elders if they see something, because the elders can't be everywhere at once. That's been a major problem at say Deep Light, is our elder team is spread really, really thin and can't see everything that goes on. And maybe, we could think of a kind of a punishment system and actually take away people's XP if they're doing unsportsmanlike conduct like that.
Absolutely. There was a program early on in LARPcraft called Ghost. Players would sign up to be ghosts and report back for those game systems where they were the unofficial admins, basically. If they saw infringements happening, whether it was the admin team themselves or the players, they were the eyes in the sky. They were the reportments back to LARPcraft. There's still that system in place, whether it's not called that, of course, but on the larpcraft.com site, there is a after-game survey that they can take that's only available to chief elders, that they can see those answers. And we want players to give their honest responses to those situations. So that we have addressed that is a need. So we're trying to take steps to do it as proactively as possible. But a more formal disciplinary, or here's what happens: cause, effect. There is no gray area in that. That should be established. You're all right.
I think the ghost idea is a great start, but I'd like to see something a little bit more current, that was something that we can do as it happens and catch it in the act, opposed to something that we report on after the fact.
Sure. And players don't even know that the elders were supposed to be in character and in game, but not necessarily eldering while they're out there. If there's a confrontation, they're supposed to call an elder. The whole point of the elder system is, I object to what happened, I'm calling an elder. At that point, it goes out of game. And an elder needs to address the situation.
Berna and Hamish have their hand up, and so did Book and Hyde, just in case nobody saw that.
Oh, yes.
I guess my question kind of goes along with what you were just saying, Artena, now is, and the whole ghost thing and all of that. As an elder from one colony, what role, so like if we saw something at Esker, for example, I'm not an Esker or I'm not, I'm not an Inland Waters elder, so I don't know, is it okay for me to step in at that point and say, hey, you know, this is something we've got to talk about, this is a rule infraction? Does that make sense what I'm trying to ask?
Absolutely, and there's many different, we've gone round and round about this as chiefs as well. I, as our tenant or as Ryan, all of you, any of you who are in a game, if you want to elder something and it's a safety concern, do it. That's my take on it, but that's not everybody's take on it. That's not everybody's colony's take on it. You know, players could do it too. If they see something happening that shouldn't be happening, they should be comfortable enough to say, hey, why are you doing that?
In the SCA, we have, for armored combat and for other martial activities, we have what are called marshals. And our warrants to be a marshal comes from the corporate offices. It doesn't come from an individual group, a kingdom, a region, anything like that. It actually comes from the corporate offices. So if there's a problem with somebody from another area, from somebody from another country, doesn't matter. We're able to address those issues.
And we've only gone as far as regional coordinator for that. So if you're designated as a regional coordinator, you could go to somebody else's game, and in the worst case scenario, you could shut that game down.
Well, I think really more than just you know, the original, you've got the elder structure in place. I think it just needs to be a look. Either you're an elder and that means something system wide, or you know, it means nothing system wide and you're just part of your colony. I think that's kind of where, and that almost needs to come top down. You know what I'm saying? Where it's either just a decision where an elder, you know, kind of like the martial structure that we're familiar with. It doesn't matter where you're a marshal, you've got the same power, so to speak, everywhere. You know, or it needs to be that, no, an elder is just something local and it doesn't mean anything system-wide. I think it just needs to become a black or white sort of thing.
Go ahead, Book.
Something that I was going to bring up when we were talking about disciplinary issues is that one of the things that I do as a teacher is I always document if there's a disciplinary issue with one of my students. And so I think that practice would be really helpful for elders. If you have a disciplinary issue, document it, write it down. Remember, okay, there was this player committed this infraction and this was the response to it, because it's going to be hard later on if you're talking, you know, months down the line, something happens, you can go back and look at that record. So if you've got a player that comes in and has an infraction in March and you document it, and then in August they have the same infraction, then you're having a pattern from that player that you've got documented so that you can take appropriate action. And I think if the elders will take the time to document what's been done, then that's going to really decrease those repeat offenders.
We have the bad call-out area in the Elder Scrolls, which have been used primarily for people who have been bad on the scrolls. It was originally designed for be using in-game, where colonies can connect with each other about problem players. It wasn't actually designed for in-scroll stuff. It was actually designed for in-game stuff. Blitz, go ahead.
I agree with Lori with the whole system-wide thing. and maybe making our elders marshals that are like safety marshals for all events, but make it optional, because I know some elders, if they're going to a different colony, they don't want to have to be worrying about, watching everybody. They're just there to kind of relax and have fun. So, I mean, I agree we should have like some sort of like, I don't know, extra rules quiz or online test or something that we can take to get certified as a safety marshal. But I think that should apply to all elders, the option of taking that and being able to go to different games and, being an extra safety marshal on the field.
Good input. Thanks, Eric. Trips, I mean.
All right. I kind of like the have maybe a safety marshal as a separate other than elder, because we have elders that have never attended events. Like, granted, they want to work hard and they want to start their own colony and they want to do this, but if they've never attended an event and they're just some kids who are going to their local hobby shop trying to get people and then meeting off in the park, that's where most of us started, but that doesn't really qualify them for a lot of like rule marshaling. I wouldn't want that kid coming into Deep Light and stopping people from doing the right thing or giving out false information. So I don't know. I think it could be an extra kind of title that'd be given other than just elder.
When we put the elder section for 2015 together, we had every elder sign a contract, and it was enforced to weed out the elders that weren't eldering. It was the first step. I don't think that we need another tier, because it's more stuff to remember, more stuff to administer. Let's make the elder the game marshal. That was originally the design. The reason it was called an elder is because you respect your elders. You are the admin. So we've been trying to get as many elders to help facilitate and run games, but I think that elders should probably be held to a higher standard. And if we can have some way to do checks and balances or a course, something that they have to complete, that to me would make more sense than putting in yet another game administrator.
See, and I like that whole idea, but I mean, when you said that the new elder agreement, that was to weed out people who aren't eldering, and like, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't really read it. I just signed it because you told me to. But whereas a test or some kind of online quiz type thing where we, think of really good questions like, backstab mechanics or certain like stuff, like just to make sure people are really, really familiar with the rule set, and that would give them the ability to make those type of, on-field calls from colony to colony, and that way if they don't pass, well, guess what? You don't know the rules well enough.
Yeah, I think that's the next step. And we got the software that integrates with the system already that can do it. I just haven't pulled the plug on it because I didn't know if we needed it, and you just told me that we do. We should have some kind of certification process for the elders. Does that make sense for everybody else?
Yeah, the only thing I have a problem with that, because there could be some people in a colony that are really helpful to the colony, an elder that comes and shows up for every work day, organizes social media, runs registration and stuff like that, but they don't play very often. They can only come to events to help out the colony, and they're just not that familiar with the rules. That's why I think there should be two separate, the safety marshal and the colony elder.
Poop, I was really hoping to get away with not putting another thing in place. Rick, go ahead.
One thing I was going to suggest also, if you're going to do the kind of the online type evaluation where we go over rules and such, you may also consider adding in not just the game mechanics, but also apply some other situations where conflict resolution. If you got a situation where two players are having a disagreement, how do you work that out? What are some steps to go through that? So, because just as much as we're elders over in-game situations, it's also going to be out-of-game situations where most of the work is going to come into play.
Yep, absolutely. Good thought. Amish, Brenna?
just to kind of address Blitz's point with the elder versus, the administrative elder versus like a safety. Nobody's saying that your colony administrative team, the people that are helping you out, running the events and things like that, have to be an elder. You can still have people coming in and helping that are part of your administrative staff, but maybe they aren't the rules jockeys that an elder might need to be.
Yeah, that's a good point too. I think people are looking for the elder status for the status. A lot of times it feels to me like they're trying to come in, they want to help out, but they also want that status. I don't know. A lot of them are just trying to help out. I don't think any of them even really need to be elders. But it's a tough one. This is kind of we're at a tough impasse of this has to be put into place because we need a quality administrative team out in the field. And we're kind of limp noodling it in some situations, and it's showing up. And when the players start seeing that, they'll either take advantage of it or they won't come back. So it's tarnishing the name of our game. So I have a big problem with that. Go ahead.
Another little thing is I think the the core Wisconsin group, and that's pretty much branched out to Illinois and Chicago, and then the group down in St. Louis, I think it is. That's where Ufnar's at. I think those both our regions are very solid, but it just kind of worries me about we have small groups in California that they're just not going to make it to our events or well-established regions. So I think if we kind of set up more infrastructure for when people do set up the franchise, like here's the first 5 games you should run, I think that would really help step people up. And it's not, it's not more rules, it's not more things like that, because at the end of the day, anyone can get an online status saying something. But if you get people the experience, I think that'll get rid of a lot of these problems.
Yeah, and that's some of the things we're working on. The next big push before we actually start marketing. Have you noticed we haven't really marketed colonies? I've never said, hey, sign up your colony today. I've never really pushed advertising on colonies for the most part. And the reason is because I don't feel that LARPcraft is in a position to where we're still half-assing it when it comes to how we sign colonies up. And there's not a good distinction of, I would like to put the colony videos together in that series that say, if you're not into running events, this is not something you should do. You shouldn't create a colony if you can't handle this type of stuff. There's some definite responsibilities that you have to do. It's very rewarding, and you can be part of a great team, but here's some of the things we need you to do. If you can't do these things, don't become a colony. We're helping you not spend money and helping us not have to see you come in and go out before you even hold a game. Because that also hurts our name. I'm really good at marketing, though, and that's kind of some of my downfall, because I'm trying to push a program that really isn't finished yet. And if we can finish the program, we can get much higher quality colonies and elders in those colonies. I just really want a lot of people to play with. But it has to be done right. And you guys are pointing out all the things we need to do. So as you think of those things, put them in the Elder Scrolls. Because I need your input, because I can't do this by myself. And most of you are part of another game system or have been in the past, and you know the strengths and weaknesses that game system has. LARPcraft has always been about adaptation and looking at how others are doing it, how they're succeeding, and how they're failing. That's how we've gotten so far in so little time. But we don't have it all figured out yet. All right. That was brutal. I have to pee.
Thank you so much for that announcement. We really needed to hear that.
Well, you guys can get up and just go. I had to stay here. Wait. I'm just kidding. So these are really good topics. I'm really happy that you guys are bearing with this long meeting because we're talking about a lot of things that are going to really help change the system out and make it better. Elders should be held to a higher standard. I really feel that way. There should be some kind of certification because they can't, what does a colony do? They're looking for volunteers, and the elder system has it has a status that like, oh, if you help us every game and you're doing all this stuff, you can get that elder status or whatever. There's no definition of what the new colony, the elder contracts does spell it out a little bit better, but there's nothing saying in black and white before you sign this, you get all these perks. All I talk about is the marketing stuff in that elder page. I don't say, what are your responsibilities? I don't think.
I also have a question about, I'm sorry, I just got back. Elders from one colony coming to another colony.
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit. Go ahead.
In the rules, it says they don't retain their elder status. But
yeah, because all elders are trained differently or don't have any training. And if we had a system-wide way to have all elders at the same level, I think we could cross that up a little bit. One of the major proponents for eldering at another game is communication with that said colony that you're going to be coming into. Like Blitz was saying, he wants to come to Inland Waters and have fun and hang out and not have to elder. I get that. That's cool. The reason why we can travel to each other's games is to give each other breaks and not have to elder and run all these games. But if you want to, Hamish wants to come up and help Ronan at the barracks to, while someone's doing weapon checks, somebody else could be checking off their checklist on the sheet to make sure they have the skill to use that weapon. That's cool. Let's do that. If we can take the help, why wouldn't we take the help?
Okay, I was just curious about that.
No, I'm just asking a question in a more direct.
No, I mean, I would definitely take the help if elders from other places came to, let's say we're having an event at Esther or whatever. They came then and they said, yeah, we'd be happy to help. That'd be great. I understand, like you said, some people want to come in and they're like, yeah, I'm an elder at this other colony, but I don't want to do that. I'm just here to, enjoy LARPing for the day, and I don't want to have to answer any questions and stuff like that.
So what if we did, Last Hope does a really good job of putting that herald thing on their belt, the big H with the yellow, that definitely says they're an elder. Or herald, whatever. So if you came into a game and you wanted to elder at that game, you could volunteer your services to not only play, but you could be an administrator in that game even if it wasn't your colony. Would that work?
Well, that's why I was suggesting a separate title of like safety marshal. I mean, it could be as simple as just putting an extra banner on a person's profile. They take the quiz, they take the test, they pass, and kind of as a writer on that, you agree to, like, if you're asked to, you have to, keep safety things at different events and help out as far as safety wise. Having a big like H on your belt, I mean, I guess that's okay because you can see who is a safety marshal. But if someone's breaking rules, they're more likely to break it when a herald isn't around, opposed to just like an undercover PC type of thing.
Right.
I feel like we'd be able to catch more people breaking rules if people didn't know who the safety marshals were.
Right. If they flew under the radar, yeah, like they do now.
Going undercover.
Go ahead.
One of the things, again, I related a lot of things to the SCA. How odd. But one of the things that we do as marshals is that if we're interested in helping out in somewhere that's not our own group, is that we actually have what we call a marshal sign-in. And if you don't sign in, you're not on duty. The other thing is that we have, like you kind of mentioned for the heralds at Last Hope, we have regalia that we have to wear, which is a black whatever with gold cross swords on it. So when we're on duty, people know to come up to you for specific things. Now, the point that Blitz made that people are more likely to do shenanigans when people are, not, officially on duty and stuff like that. I really agree with. I think that is something that I don't know if you necessarily need to have something that shows that that person is a an elder or what have you at all times. But I think that if people are interested in helping out, I think having something like the SCA uses a marshal sign-in form, an elder sign-in form, where people can come in and say, hey, I'm willing to do X, Y, and Z to help you guys out today, would be a useful way for people who are elders who want to be of service to another group, to say, hey, I'm there for you. The other way, if people don't want it, they just are there to have fun for the day, you don't have to sign in.
That seems to be the simplest solution, to be honest. Go ahead, Ronan.
But our shenanigans are cheeky and fun.
Now, hold on just 1 minute.
On a serious note, though.
Sorry.
You're going to go to Super Trooper references? I can go there all day long.
Now hold on, Meow, just 1 second there.
Eric, you had your hand up?
Yes. I really like the sign-in because it kind of shows the respect. And then if I have to call someone out for breaking a rule or something at someone else's games, that person doesn't feel like I'm stepping out of bounds, and I don't feel like I'm stepping out of bounds. And then that the event organizer actually knows how many, like, oh, we have 20% elders here. Like, we don't really have to worry that much about PCs breaking rules, things like that. I'm pretty opposed to having to wear an extra, like, costuming piece to show it, because we have elders, like, if anything, just write a note of it on your character sheet. But I don't think players should get to the point where, hey man, don't thrust with that sword, it's not legal. Like, oh, I don't have to listen to you. I mean, that's just kind of, be like, yeah, you do, and if not, you'll just get ejected from the game.
You can give the people who signed in almost like the NFL with the little red flags that they can whip out. And it's not an extra piece of gear, but like, hey, I see something going on, whip it out, throw it in the air, hold on, you guys, and that shows that people have authority to make those types of calls.
But I think we should kind of stay at the point where, even if it's not an elder, if someone sees a safety violation going on, I mean, that should be anyone's call to, because I know Hamish has done that before he was officially an elder. We had a problem with a player, and Hamish went over and talked to the guy real quick, and I mean, that was it. Like, do we really want to cultivate a player base that thinks, oh, well, you're not an official safety officer, I don't have to listen to you? So
I like throwing flags like in the NFL. Clipping number 47.
Yeah, the flag idea is good.
That's pretty epic, actually. Yellow flag.
Yeah, the only problem I have with that whole thing is any player can call it out. I don't want a player who's unfamiliar with the rules trying to tell people how to play the game. They might think that someone's breaking a rule when in actuality they might not be, but the newer player doesn't know that. So I don't want them to have authority to kind of make those calls.
Right. That's a good point as well. But to allow players to, we got to explain to players that if there's something happening, you can call an elder over, or you can do it in character too, a lot of times too, like show your scrolls, or we can provide examples of how to. We want people to be curious, like, do you have that skill to do that? Because we want people to question that in some situations. Of course, if everybody keeps getting called on everything, nobody's going to want to play either, because then it's just a bunch of rule hound log Nazis that whatever. So that's a tough situation. I think we got something figured out, though. Elder sign-ins, possibly a yellow flag throwing. Just kidding, because that's fun.
To the face.
Yeah, it only counts if you hit him in the face with the yellow flag. So make it like a rock in your pocket with a yellow thing around.
That's the penalty spell.
The penalty spell. Nice. as a character in a game, if somebody was caught like that one character that brought the staff to their first game, which wasn't their first game, but it was their first game that we experienced this last time, and we had it on video, and we're like, oh yeah, red-handed. If you caught somebody doing that in game, could you keep it in game? Could we put them in the stocks? Could we put them in jail? Could we do something that was, but would that encourage them to do it? If it was fun, it can't be fun. It has to have some kind of negative. I mean, we could take XP away.
What about branding?
That still might be fun to some people.
There has to be some kind of negative repercussion for something happening, and I'm big on negative repercussions in game as well as out of game. So like, we had a game a couple months ago where I waylaid someone in town and I got thrown in jail. That happens. Apparently, when you waylay people in the middle of a town, they put you in jail for assault. At least that's what happened.
Well, it's in-game and it's fun and it's part of the game. Could you do an in-game repercussion for something that was too many head hits?
I think we could.
Yeah.
Like when that guy repeatedly bashed Hamish right in the head on purpose.
Oh, if it's
You're going to the stocks right now.
No, if it's on purpose, bye.
Yeah, if it's on purpose, I'm probably booting somebody. That's a safety violation. If it's on purpose.
Nibel,
yeah,
go ahead.
No.
What we do in our colonies, if we see that there's repeated head hitting and stuff like that, we literally, the next event, one of our elders will take them to a boot camp where we have them fight us over and over and over and over and make them learn how to hit and how to use their weapons. If we see that it's not safe for them to use that longer of a weapon, like a two-handed, we make them use a short sword for 3 weeks. And if it continues to happen with the short sword, we'll ban them for 2 months. That's how we do it. It's just simple, makes it where they got to pay attention to the way they're hitting. If they're flailing around, then they're obviously not paying attention to how they're fighting, you know? I don't see, you know, warriors going with their hands all day long, you know?
Right.
So that's just how we do it, and it punishes them, and if they don't come back, if they don't want to learn their mistakes, that's just how it has to be, because we can't let people be hitting each other in the heads all day long.
Well, here's an idea. Let's not necessarily with the guy hitting people in the head repeatedly on purpose, because I couldn't deal with that. I would just tell somebody, sorry, bye. You're hitting people in the head on purpose. Come back next game. If you hit somebody in the head next game on purpose, don't come back again, ever. But if somebody was like the guy with the staff, he didn't have the proficiency to use it, but he was using it. Yes, I say we could do something in-game. Put him in the stocks. Put him in a gibbet. Do something like that. But that's the in-game part. And then you say, okay, well, you're not allowed to do combat at all for the rest of the event. You're in the stocks for an hour. Now you have to be in the village. You're not allowed to use combat because you broke said rule.
Or you put a yellow band on. Good luck going questing.
Yeah, that'll work
now
too.
You can be killed, and I can just come up to you and be like, you're dead. I don't even have to touch you. You can't fight back.
I think that's where documenting it will come really in handy, because let's say I see someone breaking the rules, I give a repercussion, and the next game it's Hildy sees them breaking the same rule, but we haven't talked about it. If we've got it documented, then she can go back and go, okay, this is the second time that player has been busted for this.
If we're tracking mats, why can't we track strikes? It'd be like a strike on your profile.
I think that's an interesting concept.
That would especially help with those people that are going from colony to colony and having problems.
Oh yeah, if it's on their profile, you can't get rid of it.
Right. 3 strikes, you're out kind of thing. You break the rules 3 times, you're gone.
Havoc, go ahead.
One of the things that I think that's important here as well is, when we're talking about, the intentional head hits. Well, what about the ones that are unintentional? Oh, that was an accident. Oh, that was an accident. Oh, that was an accident. Well, at a certain point, we do have a we do have to take care of our players, you know, like Nipo was talking about, where, you know, this is a problem. This is something we're seeing. This is something that's ongoing, X, Y, and Z. Most people, if they hit somebody in the head, are never going to say, "Oh, that was intentional." Let's just be honest about it. Most people are not going to say that.
Right.
Some people are going to say, "My bad. I did hit you in the head. That was, you know." But as far as intentional, that's completely, you know, here nor there. On the same note, I think one of the important things that we need to look at, if we're going to do this as an elder team, and we have people who have, you know, the elder sign in, whatever, so that people are on duty, whatever. I think one of the important things is that before we do a wrap up with the players at the end of the day, that those elders that were on duty have a 5-minute talk about, hey, I saw this, I saw that, I saw this. So that when we are talking about stuff and we do that after action report, what have you, that everybody's aware of the things that happen on the field that day. It's something that we do a lot in the SCA, because, you know, hits that are outside the realm of what normal combat is can put people into the hospital in what we do. So it's very important for us to look at those things as a group and saying, this is a repeated problem. This is something we need to address.
So you're saying like a after event debrief for all the elders?
Yeah, just a quick 5-minute talk, you know, like every event that we've been to, like Deep Light does it, Esker did it, you know, where you get all the players together and just say, okay, great, thanks for coming. You know, we're gonna start checking people out now. You know, if you have giveaways, etc., you do it then. If you do 5 minutes before that with the elders who are on for the day, they can address any of the issues that have come up. And sometimes it may just be a, hey guys, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but this is something we saw all day today. Like something like, hey, we saw people, you know, hopping on their good foot rather than dragging their bad foot, whatever that it can be. If you can put that out there in real time, it's easier to deal with those problems.
That's a good idea. I like that.
Yeah, I got that one down. I think that's a good way to address that.
Just like we have the elder meetings before a game, we should have one right after a game.
Yeah, post wrap-up review. Smart.
We get smart now.
Okay. I'd ask Trips for a mustache twirl, but he's gone.
Hey, Hamish, which PC were you talking about with the staff and not having the skill for it?
That was Chris. He when he was out there playing, he had the staff with him at Esker, and to my understanding, he didn't have that skill.
Yeah, that's my fault. I was doing the weapon checks and everything at the beginning of Esker, and I did not ask to see people's character sheets to make sure they could use the weapons. That's my fault. I take responsibility for that. That's me.
I mean, it was his first event as his PC. He NPC'd at Deep Light, and that was the first event he'd been to other than practices, unless practices are counting now as, you know, events.
He had NPC'd at least 2 events.
Okay, I would like to bring something up. Whether you NPC or PC, your first event is your first event.
If it's an actual event. Is a practice an event? No. Is an event an event? Yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Practices are practices. An actual event is an actual event. If you're going to NPC for your very first event, great. If you're going to PC for your first event, great. Your second event, if you NPC'd for your first one, you've already been to an event.
Well, what if we just take that out? It was originally designed so people could come play with their full armor set and experience the system. But you can do that as an NPC. Why would you need to do that? You won't have a PC anyway.
Yeah, and the whole Chris thing, that was my bad. I thought he'd only been to one event. I know he went to one of my Dungeon Master series things, but I didn't consider that an event. I just consider that like a practice on how to properly dungeon. So I told him, yeah, it's your first event as your PC, so you can go ahead and use it. So that was on me. I'm sorry.
Like I said, I think it's just a communication issue. I don't think he was trying to pull anything over on anybody. I just think that, like I said, as elders, we're going off of different interpretations of policies, rules, and stuff like that. And that's what, these meetings are all about and that type of thing. Because he's not been, I use him as an example because it's the one that was most recently in my mind. However, we've seen other people do that as well.
Why don't we just take it out? We don't need it in there.
Yeah, it was bad at Deep Light with everybody having the top tier abilities like Shank. People are getting shanked left, right, and center. The city was a bloodbath.
Yeah, it was designed so you could bring in your armor and not have to wait 2 years to use it. It wasn't designed for spells and all this other stuff. It was designed so whatever you physically represented could be worn. So that was my bad.
Okay, instead of taking it out, why don't we just make it more specific? You are able to use weapons and armor, not skills or spells.
I'd be fine with that. Go ahead, Trips.
Buttons. How about we take the you can play anything out, and then we just kind of give a low class kind of options where if players want to not gain XP and just kind of say a player can come in, wear armor, and use a long sword and a shield, that'd be allowed as a certain class. Or say they want a full profession and they can use a long sword and a shield, and that could be their character, and they can build their character around that. Because I kind of find a problem with I want to get my friends into this, but they're not really dedicated. Maybe I can bring them to like 2 events a year, but it's kind of hard to convince them. Like, oh yeah, just come to events and you can slowly level up into something that'll be useful. And it's kind of like, well, okay, my first event, like, yeah, you can wear chainmail and you can be a productive member, but the next time you come with me, you're going to be, a low level kind of guy, and that's not the biggest problem in the world, but it kind of puts the casual player at a weird place where if they could just come in and, like I said, do a profession and have a sword and a shield combo, or wear armor and have a weapon and then just nothing else, it's pretty balanced. It's pretty fair for the people that are building up their really good, nice characters. Or, come in, be a mage, you can't have a weapon, and you can do, you have 4 mana bands. Something like that.
What we don't utilize correctly, and this is, I think, in my opinion, this is why we lost the Hollows. We lost 3 colonies this week. That was a major deal.
Did they officially leave?
Yeah.
Why is Scud still commenting on stuff then?
Well, it's not in the Elder section anymore. But he is still commenting on stuff in the. He doesn't want to leave. I think he's getting an enormous amount of backlash from his Nero players that want a new system but don't want LARPcraft because it's not like Nero. I don't know. I can't figure it out, but the whole purpose, an NPC is very versatile, and you could use it in Tripp's example as a way for someone to use the sword and board in their chainmail. They could run a character. That doesn't mean they have to have a character sheet. Go ahead, Trips.
That's a huge drain on, you if you have, say, 7 people that want to come in and be NPCs. They want to be PCs. They want to hang out with their friends, do their own things. Maybe they'll spend some time NPCing, but that's still a huge drain to be, hey, Artenon, can you write me up 3, 4, maybe even 7 NPCs every event, or to ask Great Gore to do that, or to ask, one of the Deep Light Elders to do that. I don't know. I feel like that's a huge drain to not just kind of have a system in place, as opposed to like, oh yeah, you can play something other than your character, but it has to be an NPC, and the colony should have to approve it. But I don't know. I really think we could do something a little bit better.
I don't know. I get what you're saying, and I understand how some colonies that could be a detriment. So at the last Esker event, we made 7 NPCs. We had character sheets for those NPCs as the NPC character sheets. We discussed it the week before, how to do that, and we came up with a way that they could all interact in the same game without wrecking the game. Did those players interact with those NPCs? Did they learn their names? Did they do the stuff? Not really.
No.
But we did do the pre-work of the Elder team of coming up with the decent characters. Last year at Aladon, we did the same thing. We came up with those character sheets. We did, there was a couple people who wanted the NPC. Okay, we know that they can have some role play ability. Let's give them something more gooey, something that they would have fun doing. Tell us what your kid is. Tell us what you want to do. You're thinking about a druid. All right, let's give you an NPC with some druid abilities that you would want to put on your PC. We can do that. The NPC is very versatile that way.
There's also another thing, like you just said. We had several NPCs. Did anybody interact with them? No. Did anybody try to get to know them? No. Did anybody talk to them? No. Just the players are like, quest and go, and they all run off, and nobody interacts with NPCs or anything. I mean, unless somebody's standing out there in the woods with a big sign or the big yellow exclamation point above their head, nobody even cares.
For those of you who weren't at that game, because you're all over the world, the last game we had, half of the people were new. Half. And a quarter of those never were at a practice before. They just came out of the blue. So it presented a bunch of different questions and a bunch of different things. And we haven't seen so many sneakers in a game in so long. But boy, we tried to do the best we could with that situation. And we all had fun, I think. But there were definitely some challenges that normally weren't there.
Yeah, I'm not saying people didn't have fun. I mean, hell, I had a lot of fun. It's just that I've noticed in games a lot of players do not interact, even with NPCs in town. They don't interact with them.
We did make mention of it at the players meeting in the beginning of the game. We could put more emphasis on that. And we could also be, as players, we could, even as elders or players in the village, remind other players, ask about things, talk about things. Don't kill something right away. You can say that in character, be the reminders.
I think if you get people as NPCs that are drawing attention to themselves, that might help. Get really talented role players to play your NPCs instead of just giving it to anybody. Give it to somebody who's really going to play it up and be something interesting, and that may get players' attention.
One of the things to keep in mind, though, is that as we do a live-action choose-your-own-adventure, some people's version of their choose-your-own-adventure is just to kill people. I mean, I hate to say it, not everybody's going to want to spend time figuring out the quest. Maybe they just want to shank somebody. That's part of it, and for us to say, okay, well, nobody interacted with these people. They did sometimes with an axe through their skull, but I mean, that's still how they chose to play the game.
And as elders, we can modify the game and the NPCs for that kind of interaction. We have a lot of heavy hitters. Okay, when they kill you, release this note. Okay, they didn't talk. That's fine. We can do this a different way. Colonies can adapt to that. Players can adapt to that, and NPCs can adapt to that.
One of the things with the Esker event that my adventuring party did anyway is all the NPCs seemed really paranoid and not eager to talk. So we're like, well, we're not going to waste your time. There's treasure out in the woods. Let's go get the treasure.
Yeah.
But Blitz, come on, take a look at what your party looked like. I mean, come on. It's not like, a bunch of Boy Scouts walking around. Come on.
No, it was me and a bunch of people who followed me around like lost puppies.
I totally understand what y'all are saying, and that brings up a thing with like plot quests and things like that. It's I've noticed, and it's just the way I think. Like, I think a lot of things are linear, and I'm trying to change that about the way I think quests are and the way I try to make them. That, okay, you interact with this person, they send you here, you have to find something there, bring it back to this other person, and come back, and that goes right out the window after the first 5 seconds when they see, oh, NPC, kill it.
I'd release a note that said, congratulations, you just took out 5 quests.
Well, at one of the Deep Light events, that's how we ended up with a pet bugbear.
Owl bear.
I think if you have some natural repercussions for them just killing an NPC rather than interacting with it, that may start to resolve itself. So if there's an NPC that they're supposed to interact with and they just kill it, all of a sudden they find out, oh, I'm sorry, that NPC had the vital piece of information that you needed to solve your quest. You're going to have to find something else. Start having those natural repercussions for that mentality of just kill everything you see.
And again, we don't have those videos, Ronan. We don't make enough of those. Here's a bad example of what you did. We don't have those videos. We got to make them.
Yeah.
And how to role play professions and how to role play healing. Oh my God, there's people doing things so wrong in my head anyway, that they're not taking enough time to do some of this stuff. They're not role playing it out enough. And then here's like, oh, here's a healer, boom. And then you got Blitz doing the totem, doing the seance. You hear it in the video. It's like in the video, you heard a good version and a bad version and a medium version all in that video. So it tells me anyway, as a producer, we need to show that. We need to show what is good and what is bad. But we don't have any samples of a lot of the professions even. How do you brew a potion? We don't have that. We have what a potion does, which is outdated.
Hildy needs to do it. She does an awesome job of role-playing, making potions.
Or even if you're not comfortable doing it as a video, do it as a blog post. We'll put it on the blog. Do it as a tutorial of a written tutorial with some pictures, or we'll put some pictures in it. Don't neglect the blog stuff, which we all are. I am especially. We got this all figured out now, and now we don't use it because we just been busy with everything else.
We'll put it on our project board.
Awesome. Because if you write blogs and we post it to the LARPcast blog in LARPcraft, you get XP for it. And if you have pictures, you get more XP for it. And if you have
Sir Tenon,
what?
I sent you the cloak thing, and Rollick, is that a hand up or is that just like hand moving through the screen? But I sent that blog post on the cloak.
How'd you send it?
PDF. I think I linked you to my Google Drive.
Can you send it again?
Sure, I will send you the link again.
We also sent you something a few months ago.
Yeah,
we sent
send them
a tutorial
again.
on how to make waterproof scrolls, and I don't know what happened to that.
I fail.
Would you like us to send it again?
Yes, please.
He's a busy man.
So, yeah, I do apologize, but a lot of you folks, and if you guys are writing continually, I can set up your community profile as a blogger profile. So you could literally just have your own blog in LARPcraft. It'll automatically post if you wanted it to do that. So there's more options. But yeah, give me the information. That'd be great. We can tie it in with video or pictures, or I just need content. I can't create it all myself. And I can't keep bothering Mitri and Ronan to be like,
hey, write something.
You guys have great ideas. So we'll share them.
How long is this other meeting going again?
Going on Going on 2 hours?
We're on 2 hours. Like literally, my bladder is pulsing.
Then I think good stopping point. I don't care if it's for a break or what.
Do you want a break or do you want to end? I can go either way. I don't care.
Well, y'all take a 5-minute break. You can edit out the break. Everybody go to the bathroom, get something to drink, something to eat, pop some popcorn, and then come back.
Or let Ibo say his piece and then, call it a night, because 2.5 hours is really long for anybody who's going to watch this later.
You, my lady.
Yeah, Mordecai complained last time about having to watch like 3 hours worth of video, and he's at an event tonight. I'm laughing my butt off because it's really cold outside. Really cold outside. But he's camping and it sounds like fun, but he's going to have to watch all of this and he's going to complain again.
You can just take it in chunks. That's the beauty of watching it later. You can hit the pause button.
Yeah, but he's got to watch it on his phone because he doesn't have a computer.
So just listen to it.
Not unlimited data.
Wi-Fi. No excuse.
Yeah, we live in a very small town. There's no Wi-Fi.
There's got to be at the library or the McDonald's or the Starbucks.
Nibo, what is it that you want to
have one of those?
Don't jump in. It's never going to happen.
I'm just saying, Arten, tomorrow I'll actually help out and start making videos. And if you could send me over to the LARPcraft a link to something that I could send it to you with, I'll definitely help out with that.
Sure. Google Drive. You can send it to Google Drive, or you can put it on Dropbox. A Dropbox account is free, and you get 2 gigs of data for free. So you can just link me the Dropbox, and I can download it and edit it and make you special.
Okay, then. Well, I got to head out, guys. Got to go to work. Talk to you later.
All right. I think we should probably just wrap this up. Thank you guys for all for coming out. It was great. It was great to see a lot of participation. We'll do it again next month. Fist bump. And
thank you, Lord.
Somebody's seen Big Hero 6.
Me and my 4-year-old, that's how we roll.
Yay for having kids.
Yay for having kids.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Adios.